Welcome back to Living Local. If you've thought about listing your home, now may be the time to do it if you want to get top dollar. That's right. We're getting the latest information on the housing market with Kyle Robinson in this segment sponsored by the Robinson Group. Kyle, thanks so much for coming in again.
Thanks for having me back.
So what are interest rates looking like right now?
Well, I will tell you that we have some things that are definitely changing in the interest rate mortgage world. Conventional loans, you'll see around 4.6 to 4.75. On your government-backed loans, FHA, VAs, in the low 4%, just depending on where you're at. But I will say that it's definitely had some effect. There's no doubt about it. Some federal changes in policy, inflation, and certainly a lack of inventory have helped fuel this raise in interest rates.
Yeah. So we've been in what's known as a seller's market for a while. Are you seeing that shift at all?
Yeah, so we saw a little bit of a difference in the wintertime, but we are seeing a seller's market definitely throughout the Quad City area and throughout Iowa in general. And throughout the United States. I will say in niche markets, certainly it's more competitive than others. But I will definitely say, given it was 2 years ago, it's not as competitive as it was when COVID first started happening.
Okay.
So I would definitely encourage that if you're a buyer on the fence to reach out to a local realtor and have a conversation about what your goals are.
So now we're into springtime, and it seems like that's when we start seeing a lot of homes pop up. Is this the best time to be selling?
We always encourage people to tell them that the best time is whenever they're ready.
Okay.
But I will tell you that right now, obviously, with the springtime, typically there's 2 real estate seasons. Typically, we see it pick up from mid-February up until about the end of June.
Okay.
And then because of that 4th of July area, there's usually a lot of travel. And then towards the end of July, up until either right around Halloween or up until Thanksgiving, depending on how the weather is that year. Those are typical 2 seasons that we see in real estate. I will say some realtors don't ever have a problem with seasons. It just depends on what type of opportunity flow you have. But during the spring, I mean, there's a lot of people that are making decisions on whether or not they want to change schools. So certainly this is an opportune time. But make sure, though, with the seasons changing, that you get out there and get that curb appeal taken care of, because first impressions mean a lot.
For sure.
So during the wintertime, it's not such of a big deal because there's not much you can do about it.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So.
But now we can get those dead leaves out of the
Absolutely.
way that are stuck in the corners.
Start planning some time for the upcoming weekends to start taking care of some outdoor projects for sure.
For sure. So what are some of the first steps someone should do if they are ready to, or they're thinking about selling? Yeah,
the first step, it has to be getting in touch with your favorite local realtor. There's no doubt about it, because there's a lot of people that maybe think that they want to do a particular remodel or whatever the case may be, and maybe it's not going to be as advantageous as they thought. So I like to get people in touch with me early on in the process so we can tell them what not to focus on.
Okay.
So highly encourage that first person be a realtor. Whether or not you're deciding to do it yourself, just getting that information will certainly help point you in the right direction.
Yeah, so you don't necessarily have to be super ready. You say some people might think, oh, I've been wanting to remodel the kitchen. Yeah. Should I go ahead and get that done before I put the house for sale?
We highly encourage that before you do anything, that you reach out. I think that's a common thing that we hear from a lot of sellers is, I don't want you to come over to the house until I'm ready. Well, the thing is if we wait until you're ready, you might have done things to your house that you might not have had to do, and thus might not get the return on investment that you were hoping for.
All right. So what kind of upgrades help get a higher sale?
Well, I mean, typically people talk in terms of kitchens and bathrooms. I will tell you that in the world today, especially with the competitive environment, I think making the house presentable in a way in which somebody feels like they can come in and set their furniture down and feel right at home.
Yeah.
So it not necessarily going in and redoing kitchens or bathrooms prior to selling a home is going to get you that much more money, right? Those are typically things that we recommend you do out through the life of living in the home, right? Yeah. So that's the big thing, is people need to reinvest back into their home while they're living in it, so that way when they go to sell it, they're not having to do everything at one time.
Yeah.
Right? So the typical rule is 1% to 2% a year of your home price.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Doing it over time so you're not overwhelmed.
Yes, absolutely. That's the recommendation, but don't go rushing into doing a kitchen remodel or bathroom remodel just because you're selling your house. Get a realtor involved and have a conversation.
So what are some other things that sellers maybe shouldn't waste their time on when it comes to maybe upgrades?
Well, I certainly think that sometimes what they think that they like might not be necessarily the appeal of the other, but I also do, once again, getting back to the premise of people want to feel good. So I do recommend, as much as people say, oh, they're going to come in and repaint, I can tell you right now, if you go in with a neutral color and paint the house, you're going to have a lot less objections than somebody going in and seeing some dings on the wall and thinking that they're going to have to spend money.
Yeah.
So a lot of people are like, well, why would I put flooring in when I don't know what they want? Well, you know why is because you get to decide how much the flooring cost.
Yeah.
Right? Rather than them coming in and saying, hey, you know what? I want this, or whatever the case may be. So a lot of times when it's already done, people can live with it.
Yeah.
And if they decide to change it later, that's completely up to them. So.
All right. Well, some great advice, Kyle. Thank you so much for coming in again.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Again, this segment was sponsored by the Robinson Group. For more information, check out trgmove.com. And we'll also have all those details posted on ourquadcities.com.